Since its founding in 1636 by Roger Williams, Rhode Island has had a history of being a progressive state. Rooted in religious freedom, Rhode Island has been a forward-thinking place from independence to abolition. This tradition is reflected in the modern problem of our day, ecological crisis and political response. Rhode Island's unique landscape and ecology provide the context for this crisis. Centered around the Narragansett Bay and its various tributaries, Rhode Island has a delicate and interconnected ecosystem. As humanity's impact on this environment grows exponentially, conservationists, environmentalists, and ecologists have risen to counter the threat. This green movement models other green movements across the world. Though the smallest state, Rhode Island is filled with activists fighting environmental destruction through the use of organizations. Within this green movement, a distinction can be found in ideology and practice among these groups. Using Andrew Dobson's green political thought, we found ecologism holds that a sustainable and fulfilling existence presupposes radical change in our relationship with the non-human world and in our mode of social and political life. On the other hand, environmentalism argues for a managerial approach to environmental problems without fundamental change in present values or patterns of production and consumption. To explore these contrasting ideals, we selected 4 different groups within Rhode Island, 2 which we originally identified as ecological and 2 as environmental, based on comparing Dobson's definitions against each group's mission statement. After further researching each group, we then composed a series of questions in order to learn more about the activities and goals of these groups, and discover if they fell in line with our original assumption. The 4 groups we profiled were New Dawn Earth Center, Rhode Island Green Building Council, Save the Bay, and Clean Water Action. New Dawn Earth Center was the first organization we interviewed.
Well, New Dawn Earth Center is about education of Earth to children, families, adults, and what we want to do is help everyone to get the sense that all is interconnected. And so that is primarily our mission. And also to invite people to live more sustainably, live more in tune with the earth, and when they walk around in nature, to allow nature to nurture them. A sustainable society would be one that uses only the resources that they absolutely need at this moment in time, and then leave other resources for future generations, not only of people, but of animals, plants, and so forth. We are on a crash collision course at this point in time. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't know if it's just the timing is not right, but I think it says something that, you know, we're really, in some ways, afraid to face the truth about global warming, because it means we have to really take a deep look at how we live. We need to look at our own lifestyle and what can I change to make a difference. And then collaborate with other people. You know, we look at it superficially, and there are lots of organizational groups that, you know, are into this. We've tried to do things with reducing our carbon footprint and so forth. We've gotten a couple grants from New England Grassroots Environmental Fund. You know, what we're doing here is just a microcosm of everything else that's going on everywhere else. Somehow that people are going to get the message that the earth is primary, that we need to really think about earth first, and that we're secondary. Earth was here long before us.
We then proceeded to the Rhode Island Green Building Council.
The Rhode Island Green Building Council, as well as the U.S. Green Building Council, as well as the International Green Building Council, the goal is to improve the world's environment by improving the quality of buildings. I would say that anything and everything we can do as human beings to improve the global energy crisis or the global climate crisis is necessary. What the USGBC does is we advocate and educate towards the highest standards, which are the LEED standards, of the quality of building. We actually were very responsible for the new international building codes and the new state building codes, therefore, and the new national building codes, all of which are a tremendous improvement over the old building codes or the old building standards in terms of the quality of both energy efficiency, but also the quality of life that those buildings provide for humans. So I would definitely say that both on the advocacy from the government standpoint, but also on the education side, improving building code standards has been a huge goal, but also an achievable and an achieved goal. Absolutely, we need to build more sustainable societies. When I say sustainability, I don't mean that something is green or sustainable just because it's energy efficient or it has low emissions or all of those different buzzwords. It's only sustainable if we can afford to maintain it over the long haul. So all of our societies, right now, we don't live in a sustainable society. We could do that so simply and so easily. We just have to educate and change people's mindset just a little bit. I think the bottom line is that the beauty of our country and the beauty of a democracy is that it usually comes as a grassroots effort, and it usually comes from the citizens. It does become our responsibility to advocate, to demonstrate, and then that inspires and encourages and sends a direction and a message to the government to say, you actually have the support of the people to move in those directions. Each of our buildings is really an exercise in improving design at the state, the national, and the international level. So as we look around the world, we continue to learn from each other. And that's really the goal, is to continue to improve building design and building quality from the standpoint of green design. We are an educational organization. We are primarily about the building of buildings for the purpose of humans. Typically, I think we're categorized as an environmental organization, but we really do the work that we do for people as much as we do for the environment.
After interviewing these two ecological organizations, we then wanted to see what kind of response we would receive from those groups we considered environmental. The first of these is the well-known and politically active organization, Save the Bay.
Yeah, Save the Bay is Southern New England's largest nonprofit environmental organization, and we serve the watershed of Narragansett Bay, which you can see in the big color chart behind me. Narragansett Bay, the rivers that feed into it, and the coastal waters, the connected coastal waters. And our mission is to protect, restore, and to promote stewardship through environmental education and outreach of the local waters and our rivers. The classic definition of sustainability is considering the impact of an action on future generations. So when we talk about sustainable fisheries, when we talk about sustainable agriculture, when we talk about sustainable development practices, we're thinking about future generations and how our actions today impact those generations. So sustainability has become kind of a catchphrase, maybe a little bit of a cliche, and it's thrown around, but the way that we apply it and define it and think about it is to give you just the simple Narragansett Bay example of shellfish. If you take too many clams today, there aren't going to be enough to repopulate the beds tomorrow. And so we should only take as many clams as, basically think of it as an interest-bearing account. When we have a good body of clams out there, they're enough to repopulate the coves and the rest of the bay through their seed stock. We should be harvesting the interest and not dipping into the principal. In the example of renewable energy, it's probably overly idealistic to expect that we're going to get off the coal and oil anytime soon, but to be able to increase our complement, the percentage of renewable energy is a priority to us, and is something that again, we strongly advocate for. But I think we need to be realistic. We don't. Part of this organization's strength, I think, is our grounding in practical reality. I would say we are an environmental group, but I would not say we're an environmentalist group. Most people probably on the staff would identify themselves as environmentalists. Many of our members would. A number wouldn't, and that's what I'm saying. Even myself, I don't really consider myself an environmentalist. I'm wary of a label that makes you an ideologue. What we've evolved over this time is a network of very bright and caring people who have personal relationship with the Bay, and so we depend on that network to help us navigate any of these problems.
We then interviewed another environmental organization, Clean Water Action.
Sure. Clean Water Action, our goal is to protect America's waters, protect the environment and public health, and make democracy work for everyone. We have 1.2 million members nationwide. We're completely citizen funded, and that is our goal, is to create strength in numbers to represent ordinary citizens and their interest in protecting the environment and public health. A sustainable society is one where we can meet our needs in a way that leaves little impact on the earth. A sustainable society would, be one where we're not dependent on fossil fuels, and we're not living in the disposable culture that we have now, where everything is just, well, throw it away. What we're doing, we've had, this organization, I should say, has had a lot of success recently in the past few years, getting past legislation that provided for the proper recycling and disposal of mercury auto switches, mercury thermostats, passed a big e-waste law not long ago. So there's been this, in the state of Rhode Island, Clean Water Action has had a proven track record of legislative success. That's the whole goal of this organization, is to, protect the environment and public health, yes, but to get people involved in the process, citizens, everyday people involved in the process of how that's going to come about. That's what we're working on right now. As far as what we need, we are 100% citizen funded, totally grassroots. We don't receive any federal funding, any grants of any kind. So we need people to participate and to build the strength in them.
After profiling these four groups, it is clear that there exists a fundamental difference in their mindset, actions, and goals, not only between environmentalism and ecologism, but their overall objectives. Although two groups may share an environmental standpoint, what they strive to accomplish and the means by which they accomplish them may vary. Likewise, even though two ecological groups may share a similar philosophy, their methods and outreach can differ greatly. In theory, there exists a clear distinction between ecologism and environmentalism. Although we originally identified certain organizations as strictly adhering to one ideology specifically, upon and further investigation, the line between these becomes blurred. Although their methods differ, the fundamental objective remains the same: to strengthen and promote the green movement in Rhode Island.